The world's largest ever IPO. Ant Financial is going to list on the market very soon as the world's most dominant digital finance company ever. Let's take a look why. Cha-ching! Just over a week ago, I got an email from eToro informing us that the world's largest IPO is about to happen very soon. I knew it was coming for a while, but to be honest, the process of these IPOs takes so much time and it was very long drawn, so I kinda lost interest halfway. Now that it's here though, I'm hooked. Unfortunately, Ant Financial won't be listed in the US stock market, where they're instead going for a dual listing in both the Shanghai and the Hong Kong stock markets. This IPO is super hyped up. There are reports that there has been almost $3 trillion worth of money that is ready to buy these stocks at IPO. However, only around $35 billion worth will go for listing, and that means that there's potential for a big gap up on the day that they IPO. Beginning as just Alipay in 2004, Jack Ma made this company so much more than just a way to make payments digitally. If you're wondering, yes, it's the same Jack Ma who started Alibaba. What a dude. This video will be split into 4 different parts. First of all, I'll share what my experience is using an Ant Financial product, and then I'll go into the so many other different products that they have that make them the giant that they are today. Thirdly, I'll go through some of their juicy financials, and finally, to cap it all off, I'll share whether I think this is a stock to buy. Before getting into all the interesting parts about Ant Financial, I wanted to share my personal experience using one of their products, which of course is Alipay. In 2016, I took a year abroad in China, where immediately upon arriving, I found out that everyone uses this one app that I've never heard about called Alipay. Without putting too much thought into it, I just downloaded the app immediately because all of my roommates told me that this is something that all Chinese people use and it's a very common app and it'll be super helpful. Little did I know at that point that I go on to make nearly 98% or 99% of my spending in my entire year there using the Alipay app. It was so popular among merchants. Telcos took it as a form of payment, restaurants obviously took it as a form of payment, and perhaps most surprisingly to me, roadside stalls, those similar to Pasar Malams in Malaysia, they took it as a form of payment. The only place that I ever remembered that didn't take Alipay or Pao as a form of payment was Uniqlo, which is a bit odd, but I'm not complaining. Anyway, my experience in the year there made me realize how big of a company Alipay is and the endless possibilities of a digital financial system. Back then, other countries like Malaysia were nowhere near as close to what China has in terms of digital wallet adoptions. Only recently do we see so many new digital wallets flood our market, the likes of Touch and Go, Boost, Grab, but even still, I would say that we're not even close to where they are or they were 5 years ago. One thing that I have to admit though is that I never knew what else there was beyond Alipay for the Ant Financial Group until they were about to IPO, which is very recently. Back then, all I thought was, Alipay, big app, everyone uses it just to make payments. This wasn't enough for them. Jack Ma thought to himself, you know what? I can't just be a company that enables people to transfer money digitally. I want to be so much more than that. And they had 2 things that helped them expand. First of all, they had access to funds because everybody put their money into the Alipay wallet. And secondly, they of course had a wealth of data in terms of how their consumers spend their money. This then leads them to where they are today, being in 5 different verticals in the entire digital finance space. The first of it is an investment platform, allowing their users to invest in money market funds similar to Stashaway Simple here in Malaysia. Already, it's the largest money market fund ever in terms of asset under management. Well, when China has more than 1 billion people in the country, I guess this isn't so surprising anymore. But think about it. Over here, we have a bank account with, let's say, CIMB, we have some digital wallets here and there, and if we want to invest our money in a money market fund, we got to put it into Stashaway Simple. Over there, everything is put under one, which is Alipay. Secondly, they have a credit lending service that churns out credit scores and provides loans to individuals who maybe they're not really eligible to get these loans from banks due to the stringent requirements. They can do this because of one of the things that I mentioned earlier, which is they have a wealth of information about how an individual spends. For example, Maybank won't know my credit score if I've never taken a loan in my life. However, Alipay can. This is because as a Chinese citizen, for example, I'm not a Chinese citizen, but if I spend money every day, for example, I buy food, I buy groceries, they would know how much I can spend and what do I spend on, and with that, they have a proprietary model that can determine my credit score. It's similar to what Square does over in the US, except they're targeting more small businesses, whereas Ant Financial is going for individuals. Ant Financial also has a wealth management platform that allows asset managers from even competing vendors to display their products. They also have a mutual insurance platform, which to be honest, I don't fully understand, but it seems kind of interesting by the looks of it. It targets low-income workers and helps them get some sort of insurance even though they can't afford to pay the high premiums that standard insurance companies charge. In just the first year of their launch, this side of the Ant Financial business signed up 100 million users. Insane! Now that's a lot of things, and it kind of makes sense why Ant Financial will be probably around $300 billion after their IPO. They managed to cross-sell their products very effectively, with an estimated more than 80% of their entire user base using 3 or more products. For those of you who are product managers, like myself, I guess you would think that that is a difficult thing to achieve. Now, let's get to the financial bit. To get this, I dove into the listing documents which you can find in the investor relations bit of their website. Because they're about to IPO very soon, these companies are required by law to list some of these documents so that initial investors can take a look. These documents can be very long, very tedious, and quite complex, so I did all of you the favor and I've gone through most of it. In 2019, the company brought in around 18 billion US dollars worth of revenue, which resulted in about $2.7 billion in profits. This means that based on their 2019 numbers, they're about to list at more than 100 times their PE ratio. That's a very expensive valuation. To make things better though, Ant Financial also released their numbers from the first half of 2020, meaning the 6 months ending June. Looking at the numbers they reported, it's quite obvious why they did this. In the first 6 months of this year, they've already brought in nearly $11 billion worth of revenue and $3 billion in profits. They've already made more money in the first 6 months of this year than they did in the entire 2019. That is impressive. As a comparison, one of their equivalent company, which is PayPal, only brought in $1.6 billion in the same time period. This means that Ant Financial brings in nearly 2 times more profits than PayPal. 2020 seems to have been a milestone year for the group, as they're projected to bring in more than 2 times what they did in 2019. To break down their revenues, CreditTech seems to be the biggest contributor to the amount of money that they're bringing in. I assume that this is the part of the business that churns out credit scores and gives loans to individuals. It more than doubles the revenue from InvestmentTech and more than triples the revenue from InsuranceTech, so it's very clear which segment of this business is top dog right now. Their digital wallet side only comes in at second place, even behind the CreditTech portion. Initially, I thought that the digital wallet side would be the biggest part of the revenue, but I guess that's why I'm not working in a fintech. Anyway, having said all of this, is Ant Financial an investment for the future? First of all, as some of you may already know, it's not really my investment style to put money into companies that are already this big. I only make exceptions to really outstanding ones, so let's see if Ant Financial can be one of them. At over $300 billion market cap, they will list as the 4th largest financial company after only Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company, Visa, and MasterCard. With the IPO trends that we're seeing these days, I won't be surprised that they soar on the debut day and cross the $350 billion mark. I guess it isn't as big as Facebook, Amazon, Apple, or any of the mega cap tech stocks in this day, but it's still a very big valuation. For me to double my money investing in Ant Financial at its IPO, the company would have to add $300 billion worth of value. That's not very easy to do, is it? Or maybe it is. If there's one company or one segment that I think can do this though, then to me, Ant Financial and the digital financial services industry as a whole is it. They obviously still have a massive runway to go in their native China with its huge population, and they can even expand their services into other stuff like, let's say, pure investment, or pure insurance. In terms of global expansion, I initially thought that this would be very challenging and unlikely. It's not easy to go into another country and try to set up shop as a digital financial service company because of the tight regulations behind it. Ant Financial has formed strategic partnerships with payment mobile operators in countries like India, Thailand, Mexico, and many more. Looking back at even our own Malaysia, I'm not sure if many of you know that Ant Financial had a partnership with both CIMB and Touch 'n Go to develop Touch 'n Go Digital, which is an e-wallet that we're using today. It's going to be super interesting because if Touch 'n Go can be even half of what Alipay is in China, then we're going to be happy consumers very soon. Knowing the complexities of entering directly as an individual company, I guess your strategy of forming partnerships with existing players in these countries make a lot of sense. I'm not very sure in terms of how this can directly translate into revenue and profits for the Ant Financial Group, but I'd say it's encouraging to see them looking at ways to expand beyond mainland China. If and only if they manage to do this well, then I'd say there's a large runway forward for this stock. I'll be doing my usual small initial position in this stock early on, maybe even sometime this week, and I'll keep an eye on the stock and slowly add as it goes. I'm really excited about the listing of this company. I may make an exception to this because it's a big company, but I feel that there's so much potential in this digital financial space. If you want to invest in Ant Financial in their IPO, make sure you sign up for eToro and you can use our link down in the description below. It really helps our channel, and as a disclaimer, we make a bit of money from this. I really like doing my research in Ant Financial. As most of you know, I love the digital financial space and it really brings me excitement. If you want to watch more videos, you can check out this one on how to invest with eToro in just 20 minutes, or you can watch this one where you can find 4 different ways to invest in Malaysia with as little as 100 ringgit. See you guys in the next one.